Early voting going on for a while. Carl DeMaio in the thick of it in the 52nd District with some opponents in there, too. You got Jorgensen, you have Fred Simon, you have Scott Peters, who's there, I think, thinking he thinks like Kennedy did, that it's his seat, I believe. Carl, how goes the battle?
Things are going great. We're getting a wonderful response for my whole concept of taking our reform agenda that successfully saved the city of San Diego from bankruptcy to a national level to address the economic crisis, the fiscal crisis, and to change the rules in Congress to force Congress to live under the same laws as the rest of us with no more special exemptions and no more privileges. These ideas are really bringing together an amazing coalition of Democrats, Republicans, Independents who are just fed up with the direction of the country.
When do you get the congressional pension? When does that kick in? That's one of those things that just in the back of my mind at times. How long do you have to serve? Do you get that after, is it 2 or 3 years, or when is that in the mix?
The members of Congress vest after 5 years, but under my proposal, we would strip them of their pensions, and they would receive Social Security and a modest 401k that is benchmarked to the penny against what the average constituent receives in their district. So I believe that members of Congress should not be given lifelong taxpayer-guaranteed pensions, and instead they should receive benefits comparable to the constituents they serve. One
of your opponents is making a big deal about only serving 3 terms if he would win. What do you make of that?
You know, for people who say, well, I'm going to apply a term limit, and somehow that's going to change the whole system. Well, in Sacramento, we've had term limits since 1992, and yet it's one of the most dysfunctional legislatures I can point to. I'm looking for real reforms, tough reforms, and that's why when you take a look at what's in the Fix Congress First initiative that I authored, it has reforms about requiring Congress to read the legislation before they vote on it, single subject rules so that lobbyists can't get special interest provisions put into must-pass legislation that has nothing to do with the bill. No budget, no pay for real. Permanently take away pay for every day that they miss their budget, and so on. We've got so many structural reforms that I think go far, far, far beyond a term limit concept that we've seen fail in other legislatures.
Carl DeMaio with us here, 1170 KCBQ. He's running for Congress in the primary 52nd District, and Tuesday, of course, is Election Day here, when most people don't vote, unfortunately, and need to pay attention, know what's up. Go to sdvote.com for all the info. I was surprised to see that Leland Yee is still on the ballot for Secretary of State, and he's not exactly in a position to serve with all, sometimes printing deadlines, I guess, even in the world of digital information. They're still there, so I was surprised to see that. But there have been cases over the years where dead people are still on the ballot, so go figure. Now, Carl, other than the bottom line issues you talked about in reform, which is your strong suit and has been for many years, if you look at the other issues, Benghazi, IRS, calls now for gun control after what happened up at Isla Vista over the weekend. Where would you, if you went to Congress and Boehner's there and the Republicans please, Lord, hold the House, and Boehner's the Speaker, what would you say, Mr. Speaker, here's what I think we ought to do. If you had the opportunity, then which would be interesting, as a freshman congressman, to go in there and say, here's the issues we should focus on right now, what would they be, beyond the bottom line issue?
Well, first, let me kind of push back on that whole concept of freshman congressman.
That's part of the rap. Anybody, you're not...
Exactly.
Scott Peters has been there. He's experienced. He has connections,
Scott Peters is also in the minority. I hope to be in the majority to actually get things done. But first and foremost, we're getting a tremendous amount of national media attention. This is one of the most watched races in the country, and that allows us to deliver a national message. And I really believe that the message that I launched with my campaign kickoff, the Fix Congress First initiative, forcing Congress to live under the same laws as the rest of us, with no special privileges, no exemptions, I think that is something that in my first term I will focus on like a laser beam, and I will go to the Speaker and insist that we put those ideas on the House floor for a yay-nay vote. The other issues that I want to tackle are obviously the fiscal challenges in this country. As a budget expert, I'm actually going back there to do what I did on the City Council. Open up the budget, go line by line, and offer common sense ways to balance the budget without sacrificing services. Today, I'm standing with San Diego's leading veterans and accepting their endorsement. Two admirals will be joining us for the press conference, and I'll be releasing my package of reforms to hold the VA accountable for serving our veterans as they should be served.
That's got to be one of the top scandal issues right now, whiffs of scandals galore, although it sounds like the San Diego VA has passed the most recent audit, so that's some good news, but there's not good news in a lot of other places. That, and then the president's out there over the weekend saying the right things about veterans, but he's been saying that since running as a candidate in 2007. We're not, it's going to be more streamlined. This kind of thing's not going to happen. Now it's apparently happening with deadly results.
Well, and again, people say, well, it's not happening in San Diego. I would push back on that. I hear from veterans every day who are having problems getting their benefits approved, having problems transitioning from service to work. Veterans who are literally getting their runaround by the VA bureaucracy. And I think that it's time that we impose accountability, which is why the 4-point plan that I've laid out, I believe, will be something that we can get Democrat and Republican support for, because this should not be a partisan issue. This should be an American issue where we say we will not accept this sort of maltreatment of our veterans, the people who put their lives on hold, left their families, some who are injured. We ought to honor their service by making sure that they get the benefits and services that they deserved after leaving service. All
right, Carl DeMaio, you can find him. What's your website? The best web portal is?
You can go to Reform Congress Now or carldemaio.com.
All right, thanks, Carl. We'll check in again soon. Appreciate it very much. Election Day.